voice and delivery when we're giving a performance or when we're speaking out the poems that we have written on our own. So, why performance matters in poetry? So, see, I'll just start off, okay? Poetry is something that is meant to be heard. All right. Those of you who are joining right now, please keep your cameras on. It's mandatory. Okay. So, poetry, it's not about just reading lines on a page, it's about feeling them come alive. Poems are written not just for the eye, but also for the ear. It's often a saying that performance actually leaves a more lasting impact. It adds rhythm, emotion, and meaning that can't always be captured in silent reading. When you perform a poem, you become its voice. All right, you decide where to slow down, where to build the energy, when to pause, and when to hit with impact. And all of that shapes how the audience receives the message. And here's a little fun fact, from Shakespeare to today's spoken word artists, the best poets perform their work aloud. It's tradition, and it's like electric when it's done right. So today we're going to talk about more than just writing poems. We're going to focus on how to give them a voice that resonates the right way. Okay, now that we've set the stage for why performance matters, let's talk about how to actually do it. How to bring a poem to life using your voice and your presence. Here are a few like key tools you already have: your tone, your pace, the way you emphasize certain words, your volume, your body language, and you'd be surprised how much of a difference these simple factors make. So, first up, we have tone. This is all about emotion and the attitude you portray. Are you delivering something joyful? Are you saying something bitter, grieving? Are you hopeful? Your tone helps the audience feel what the poem is feeling. If your words say one thing, but your tone says another, it creates confusion. But when they're aligned, the impact is immediate. Then we've got pace. How fast or slow you speak. Just give me 1 second. Yeah. So, it create, but see, the thing is, if your words say one thing and your tone says another, that's where I stopped. When it's aligned, right, your tone and your words, the impact is kind of immediate. Then we've got pace, how fast or how slow you speak. And yes, you can play with this on purpose. A slower pace builds tension and it builds drama. Emphasizing, so like a quicker pace can create urgency and excitement. So you can think about how the speed of a delivery actually mirrors what's happening in the poem. And that is all up to you. You can play around with your pace however you want. Next up, we have the emphasis. This is where you decide which words matter most. Where do you pause? What words do you stress? Emphasizing a single word can shift the entire meaning of a line. It's all about the intention, all right? Being deliberate with what you highlight. So just make sure, like, you can't stress on like random words. Make sure what is actually the central important topic of a poem is highlighted only on purpose by you. Then we have volume and clarity. Like, these are the basics, but they matter as much. So if your voice isn't loud enough, people will miss the words. If you mumble, they'll miss the meaning. So if you want to find a particular balance, project without yelling and articulate your voice so well that you don't sound robotic, but you actually connect to the person who's listening to you. And finally, we have the body language. So, this is everything that isn't your voice but still speaks volumes. Your posture, your facial expressions, your hand gestures, even when you're looking, all that adds depth to your delivery. All right. You can say nothing and still communicate just through your presence. So remember, these aren't rules, these are just like tools that you can use. So the goal is to not overthink them, but use them to match the mood, the meaning, and the movement of your poem. You don't have to do everything at once. Even choosing just one of these elements to focus can completely transform your performance when you are saying a poem out loud. Okay. So, we'll see. The thing is, there's something very important, a difference between tone and mood. I'll just talk about this before we move into understanding tone. So, firstly, tone is how the poem is portrayed. Okay, the way you've chosen your words and the way you've written your poem is the tone. The mood is how the reader perceives what you've written, how the reader understands what you've written, basically. So, you kind of like decide whether the reader is going to be tensed or happy or scared or whatever just through your words. Keeping that in mind, remember, tone is what breathes emotion into a poem. It's the difference between someone simply reading words and someone feeling them and making us feel them too. So you can like ask yourself before you're like reading something out, you can ask yourself, is it serious? Is it playful? Is it angry? Is it hopeful? Is it melancholic? The tone of the poem should reflect that. You don't want to read a sad poem with like a flat robotic voice or a joyful one like you're reading the news. The tone becomes the emotional mirror of the poem. So let's take a couple of quick examples. So the first one is hope is the thing with feathers. The tone here is gentle, thoughtful, kind. It's kind of delicate. You wouldn't like want to rush this one out or like shout it out, but it needs softness and a quiet strength. That matches the image of hope as a little bird inside us. All right. So now contrast that with the second one. Do not go gentle into that good night. All right. Totally different energy, right? This one is urgent, it's emotional, it's almost like a cry. You can hear the desperation and the fight in the lines. If you read this in a calm or casual voice, it would lose its power. So, tone isn't just about sounding pretty, it's about being true to the poem's feeling. And it's also where your voice really gets to shine because your interpretation of tone might be a little different from someone else's, and that's completely fine. That's what makes performance personal and alive. So, I'm not saying if I read these statements one way, you have to read them the same way. No, if you thought of reading this in a different way, if it connected to you on a different level, then sure, go ahead and go ahead with your perspective. That is the best part about poetry. Everybody understands it in different ways. So you have the freedom to explore different ways of just saying one thing. So as we keep going, I'll just like to encourage you to start listening not just to what a poem says, but also how it wants to be said. Okay, so just look at at a more deeper level. Okay, then we have two performance tools that may seem small, but they change everything: pace, pauses, and emphasis. So let's start with pace. All right. The speed at which you deliver a poem affects its emotional impact. I'll simplify it. Okay. So the speed. So now when I'm talking to you, I'm talking at a particular speed to make sure you're understanding what I'm saying. So you are getting you might have certain other thoughts going on. You might have questions, you might not agree with what I'm saying, or you might completely agree with whatever I'm saying. But whatever is going on, you're understanding what I'm saying and you're actively listening to me. So it's kind of affecting the emotional impact of the text. Fast delivery even though some people do that, it can bring a sense of urgency, it can bring excitement, it can bring energy, like your emotions are spilling out faster than you can control them. But slowing down creates weight. It kind of gives the audience time to feel. A slow pace can make something feel dramatic, thoughtful, heavy, heartbreaking, you name it. You make the way you're saying it a little slower, it creates all the impact. So remember to like always make sure your pace at which you speak, you should be comfortable with it, and your reader should be comfortable. Your audience should be comfortable with it. Then we have pauses. Pauses are not just for breathing, they are powerful. Use them where the poem has natural breaks, after punctuation, after line ends, or even in the middle of a thought. It as if it adds drama. Okay, you can imagine it as something like that. Sometimes what you don't say is just as powerful as what you do. So silence gives the audience time to process and time to lean in. And then we have the emphasis. So this is about drawing attention to the right words. It could mean raising your voice slightly, or slowing down a word, or you can just change your tone wherever it is necessary only. So when it's done well, emphasis helps you to guide your audience through emotional landscape of a poem. So you kind of like give your reader, the listener, whoever, time to imagine what you've written with the help of words. What to feel, what to focus, what to remember. You're giving time to the reader. So make sure you only highlight what is necessarily important. You can't emphasize on all the points that are given. So let me give you like a quick line to show you all three together. Listen to this, okay? The silence broke me more than words could say. Now, if I read that flatly, no changes in pace, no emotions, it's fine. But it doesn't land, okay? So you don't feel that. So let's try this again, but this time I'll slow down. I'll emphasize the word broke. I will pause after the silence and lean into the words, okay? So I'll say, the silence broke me more than words could say. So I gave you time to process how important silence was, how that silence broke me more than words could say. So you're like, there is some anticipation of what the real meaning of the word could be. So when you feel the difference? That tiny shift in delivery made the lines 10 times more powerful. And that's the kind of nuance you want to bring into your own performances. So as you practice with your pieces, ask yourself, where can I slow down? Where can I speed up? Should I pause now? And which words need to be felt, not just heard? Because some words, when you're writing poetry, will definitely have more deeper meanings than their literal meanings. And that's where like the real magic happens. So we'll go forward. Now, we've covered the core tools, but I'll just give you some tips for online or stage reading. Speak loud enough to be heard. You don't want somebody um, coming and telling you, I didn't hear that. Can you repeat? I must have misheard. I didn't get the meaning of the poem. That's kind of showing that you aren't that stage aware to speak clear enough to your audience. So make sure your whatever you're speaking, it's loud enough that everybody hears, but it should not be screaming. It should be just the inner confidence showing out. Then enunciate clearly, don't mumble. Pronounce all your words correctly. If something is difficult to pronounce, or if you feel like you're getting stuck somewhere, don't mumble it away. Don't just softly say it and just skip that line. Go through it clearly and in a concise manner. Then you use a strong but relaxed posture. Make sure you're like confident, right? You're sitting straight. You're showing that you're ready to do this, because your body language is just as important as how well you're delivering it. um Also remember, when you're doing body language, your hand movements, look at everybody, and make eye contact with your audience. or camera. So make sure you're like looking at your audience, look at them and talk to them. Make them feel like it's actually connecting, and avoid speaking too fast. So let the words breathe. If you speak too fast, what happens is the readers will just, or the readers or the audience will just like zone out. And we don't want them to zone out when we're doing something, right? So just make sure you're like their whole attention is set on you. Okay, so this is an activity. We don't have that much time. So this activity is actually something you guys can do at home and practice. It's today we're not taking any submissions, but we basically for today we're gonna practice a stanza aloud. You can do this, and there's an assignment as well. Let me just show you the assignment also. Yeah, so you can choose one of your past poems and deliver and practice delivering it aloud. So if you guys have, so all these days you guys must have written poems, right? At least one paragraph. You, if anyone wants, you can let me know. I'll let you unmute and you can like read out the poem and you can practice how it's said. Or we have this paragraph as well, this one. You can read this out as well and practice. You can just take a screenshot of this, and whenever you need to do practice you can, or the poems that you've written the past 3 days, you can use them as well. Is anyone interested in reading it out? Okay, Rahini, do you want to do it?
Yes.
Okay, you want to read your poem or you want to read this?
I'm going to read my poem that I wrote yesterday in
Yeah,
yesterday's class.
yeah, you can do that. Go
Okay,
ahead.
so the topic was talking to my future, and a limerick poem I wrote yesterday. Courtroom, calm and wide, where truth and justice never hide. I am water, listening to the cases, reflecting truth in quiet traces, with justice and wisdom as my guide. Thank you.
That was very nice. Good job. um Siddhi, do you
Thank you.
want to read your poem?
I want to read the paragraph.
This stanza on the screen.
Yes, the stanza.
Okay, you can read.
The wind sighed through the cracks of night, a whisper in the empty street. I listened hard and held my breath as silence curled around my feet.
Very good. You had the tone. Okay, Riddhi,
Thank you.
do you want to read?
Ma'am, may I read the on given on screen?
I'm sorry you weren't audible.
Ma'am, may I read the poem given on the screen?
You want to read the one on the screen? Okay,
Yes.
okay. Read.
The wind sighed through the cracks of night, a whisper in the empty street. I listened hard and held my breath as silence curled around my feet.
Very good. Good job. That was good. Brinda, you want to go ahead?
I'll read my own poem if that's all right.
Yes, go ahead.
So this poem's titled Memento Mori, and it goes like I look out my window to see a flying flower bush, a dying flower bush. I recall what it used to be, with flowers fresh and plush. Now, with every stroke of wind, a petal falls to ground. The bush, a farewell it bids to the corolla in the soil it's drowned. Slowly and steadily, each petal shall fall. Even if this makes you melancholy, remember, death will one day call. But goodbyes aren't forever. They're simply till we meet and intertwine. One day I too will be a cadaver. I'll enjoy the peace and quiet, truly sublime.
You wrote that poem?
Yeah,
It's very nice. You read that very well.
thank you.
Okay. Does anybody else want to read? No, I think everyone's read it. It's fine. Moving forward. So, we've now that we've gone through a few of the core tools, so I'll just give you a few practical tips also that you can help to your own poetry performance, whether it's on stage, whether it's in a classroom, or even just a Zoom call. So, firstly, understand the poem's emotion before anything else. Feel the poem. I think all of you all are doing that very well because you're really keeping your audience engaged. Like I was really engaged when you guys were speaking. So you're understanding what the mood is, what the essential message is. You can't deliver emotion if you haven't connected it with yourself. So sit with the poem a little, let it hit you inside before you try to hit the stage. Then, secondly, practice your delivery. So, play with pauses, play with your pace, try different speeds and tones until something feels right. You might even want to record yourself sometimes and listen to that recording. It will help you catch your voice when it isn't matching your emotion. So, you can act as your own judge or your own evaluator after you record. Thirdly, use your voice to bring out meaning. So don't just read the poem, you have to interpret it. Bring it out from your perspective. Your voice is basically like a highlighter, it tells your audience where to look, what to feel, and what matters the most. So use that power intentionally. Fourthly, don't rush. You have to own your moment. A lot of people speed through performances because they're nervous or they just want to be done with it. They're like, I'll just do this and be done with it. But rushing actually just takes away the heart of the poem. So just slow down, take your time. The stage is yours while you're up there. So you just have to use it to its fullest. Then, lastly, confidence is key. And yes, it's okay if you're nervous. Everybody gets nervous. There's nobody who just goes on stage and they're having fun. But confidence is not about being fearless. It just means you're trusting your preparation and you're speaking anyway. Even if your hands are shaking, your voice has power. Your voice has purpose. So people will listen. So just remember, no one knows your poem the way you do. So when you share it, do it like it matters because it does. It's something you have written that is from the depth of your heart, and that is definitely something that has to be shared to the world. So this is the assignment. Choose one of your past poems and practice delivering it out aloud. We did that. But if after this as well, if you guys want to write more poems and practice reading it aloud, take a video of it, make somebody sit down and recite it to them, get their feedback. It will really help you if you're doing it on stage one day. So that's all for today's session. We covered the basic topics for delivering your poem on stage. We have one last session tomorrow, and then on Saturday we have the impromptu poetry competition. Again, I'm repeating, we're gonna be giving you the prompt with the theme on Saturday. So it'll be given on spot. You guys have to cook up a poem, put it on a document, write it down. We'll give you a form. You'd have to upload it there. So this is your opportunity to showcase whatever you've learned throughout this week and compete against other students and have a chance to win. Uh, so, so the main purpose of today's session was, in case in the future you write a poem and it gets so appreciated and you have to go say it aloud somewhere, you say it with meaning. I hope I explained as much as I could from my experience of doing it in school. Um, and that's all for today's session. Thank you all so much for joining. Um, I'll just stop sharing the screen. If you have any questions, you may ask. Okay, no questions. Okay, great. So I hope you guys liked today's session. There's another